This is Alexander Madison, running back for the Minnesota Vikings, and you're listening to the LCC Network.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Commissioners Clubhouse and the LCC Network for the 14th week of the offseason. And we are in the thick of it. The NFL free agency is starting to kind of trickle down in terms of signings. I felt like for a minute there, they were going like every minute. But with me today, I've got Cody. Jameson's out. He's feeling a little under the weather due to allergies. At least that's what he says. Hopefully it's not the Rona. I guess we'll find out. But what's going on, Cody?
Not much, man. Y'all only got me today.
That's right. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. And yeah, so we're gonna kind of a free ball episode, if you will. We'll cover a couple things that have happened in the NFL. We'll just kind of shoot the shit between the two of us and kind of just talk about our our Rona edition of the podcast, if you will. And yeah, so let's hop into this. I think I got us a little sound drop to kick it off. All right. Yeah, so and obviously this could go absolutely any direction. I have no idea what to expect, but I do have a couple of bullet points here, questions for us to go over. And the first one, Cody, I guess we'll go ahead and bring it up since the final minutes before the deadline for everyone to vote is coming to an end. What were you kind of wanting to see out of realignment? Were you even wanting realignment to happen? What were your thoughts on all that?
At first I was a little bit like I was for it, I was really thinking about all the matchups that we could do, which I still think is very exciting. But at the end of the day, when I ended up voting, I voted for no realignment. And the only reason I did that is because I feel like it also is going to take away from what we've built as different conferences. I still thought it was cool that we were in this not actual feud, but still kind of a feud. We were all definitely recognizable in what conference we were in. And I thought that was still a cool thing. So I voted no. But I wouldn't be upset either way, personally.
Yeah.
And I don't mind realigning. But at the end of the day, when I went to go vote, it was more the fact that I wanted to keep, you know, the elite. What are y'all? The elite what?
Elite 12, yeah.
Elite 12, yeah, the Elite 12 and top shotters. I thought that was a cool. I think I just like that aspect of it as well, and it was hard for me to give that up.
Yeah, it's definitely a good rivalry between our conferences. And it definitely gets heated when we get to those like non-conference games where we're playing each other and stuff. There's definitely a lot of trash talking going on between people. And I don't know. I was kind of like you. If it went one way or the other, I could have cared less, honestly. Um, it looks like at the moment it's leaning towards us actually realigning. I don't know which template it's going to be. I've got to do the math and calculate, like based off everyone's rankings, where each one kind of falls. That there's some that are definitely probably not going to make it because so many people have them either between fourth place and seventh place because there are 7 different options to choose from.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of like you. I didn't really have a preference. I did my ranking and I was like, I'd be fine with pretty much any of these. I didn't really think too much about it, honestly. I thought they were all pretty solid. Either it had really good rivalries or it was just really balanced between divisions. And then if we kept it the same, like I said, we already kind of have some rivalries built into the league as it is. But it's just that, I don't know, some people want to realign, I guess, and so forth. So either way, I was not going to lose sleep over, but it's still cool. And I'm excited because now we can focus on building the schedule and getting that put together and not have to really think on this at all.
Yeah. With the realignment, here's a question for you. What are your top three
top three ones?
Yeah, in terms of matchup wise,
Like
like rivalry.
rivalries.
Yeah,
Oh
honestly,
yeah. Here, let me pull them up. 'Cause I don't have them in front of me. I just have the poll up right now. Let's see. I have like 4 different Google accounts open right now, so it's like, gotta
you
switch.
can't pump it off the top of your head. Rivalries
No,
off the top
like
of your
I
head.
would say so. There's one with you, Cameron, and I'm trying to remember who the third one is.
Well, it doesn't have to be like your favorite conference. My thing is like, what's your top three favorite like rivalries that you would want to see in a conference type
Oh,
deal?
I see, I
Like
see. Yeah.
two
No,
people
I
you
would
would
say
pair, or like three people you would pair. It could be a three standing rivalry, or two
I
people.
think there's definitely some good rivalry. So like you and Cameron are definitely probably the biggest rivalry in the league, without a doubt. And then on top of that, I think you could throw in a number of guys with just the two of you. Like you could throw in Mafali. I know you and him kind of have rivalry. Him and Cameron have talked crap to each other over the past couple of years. Hunter is another guy you could throw in the mix with Cameron. Really, Cameron versus anyone's probably gonna be a rivalry because of the trash talking he does. Um, and then another one, just for me personally, I would say my dad is one of my bigger rivals. Not because we talk trash, just because we always have really good games. And then Isaac's another one, probably one of my top rivals, who I do enjoy having in my division and everything. And we always we don't talk a lot of trash, but we do talk trash to each other. Like it was very satisfying beating him in all my fantasy leagues last year and sweeping him in both. That was I definitely have bragging rights for a while on that one. I don't know if I'll ever do that again, but that was pretty satisfying to say the least.
I mean, if we're talking about frustration and crap talking, then I would totally have to lean towards. So like, I just know there's frustration in the Hunter Cam,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
for sure.
thing, and I feel like that's been brewing since about midseason last year. Um, if we were talking, I think Hunter and Mufali are really good. Um, they've just known each other for quite a while. Same, I think me and Cam are obviously a decent one. If I had to go with an off the radar one, kind of,
I've got an off the radar one.
what's up?
It's kind of subtle. I feel like if you don't know them personally or haven't been around them over the past, I don't even know how long they've been friends. I guess since probably like 2008 or something. But Storm and Matt, I think that's kind of a low key rivalry that people don't talk about. But maybe it's because Storm hasn't been as good as Matt over the years, and that's probably why. But I feel like whenever I've been around them when they've played each other, they've definitely talked a good bit of trash between them.
Yeah, I think Storm just tries to talk a little trash to everyone at some point.
Yeah, he
Because he
does.
gives me a little bit of like grief. Like before going into last year, last time we were in a division, he won the division like title, and he was always talking about how he was my like kryptonite, and you wouldn't win anything if I was in your division. And obviously, he finished last in our division, but
Yeah.
no, I think that's a decent one. I think Storm has quite a bit of respect for Matt in terms of like as a person and stuff, so he doesn't quite
Yeah.
talk as much, crap. Um, I think Jameson and Isaac are a good one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think that's developed over the years. Uh,
I think another one that's definitely good is I'm kind of looking at it now, but Jordan and Daquan I think is a good, not because I don't even know if they really talk trash to each other, but like another like long friendship, and it seems like all of their games kind of knock the other one out of the playoffs, and it's usually a good game between the two of them. I feel like that's definitely a pretty good rivalry.
no, definitely, and they were just really good friends too. I think that's what helps. Like people that are really good friends. I mean, that's not the same thing with me and Cameron, but if you look at like Hunter, Mufali, a couple other ones, like Charles and Jordan are decent. Matt versus like me, Storm or Jordan is decent. I think that's it helps when you're like friends too, because then you already know you can give that like crap talk
Oh
that
yeah,
they're not gonna get offended with.
yeah. And I feel like I you can relate it almost to I don't know. Well, I would say like Clemson, Georgia, but I feel like there's a good bit of trash talking between Clemson and Georgia fans.
Daquan Colby.
Yeah, Daquan
Good
Colby,
one.
that's a good one. Yeah, we definitely have some good rivalries, and even um, some of the guys who don't have the championships that others do, like they still have good rivalries with other people because maybe they beat them in the playoffs, or our league's just been around so long that we've got some rivalries that have been going on for so many years now, over a decade, between some guys, and it's kind of cool just to track that stuff over the years.
Yeah, I think if you push it, a couple years down the road, 2, 3 years down the road, like, me and Billy may have a decent little rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
played each other in the Little Critter Bowl once, so
Yeah, and then we played last year, so that's 2 years in a row now. So, like, if it can, like, continues to be, like, a, ongoing thing,
yeah.
uninterrupted matchups tend to turn into rivalries.
Yep, I agree with that. Let me ask you another question. What is your favorite college football video game and NFL video game of all time?
Okay, so, like, college, obviously, there's only so many college games, but NCAA football has to be, like, EA's NCAA football has to be, like, up there. But
Yeah.
also, I wanna say, like, a super underrated game that Jordan and I used to play is EA did a, college baseball game that was ridiculously fun, and it's the only baseball game that I've ever seen that you can, you can 2 people can play at one time, So,
Oh,
like,
I
you can
have that. I still
dude,
have that game.
it's a
I've got the original Xbox and I've got it.
killer game, yeah, Jordan and I used to kill that, dude. Like, that's a
Yeah.
really fun game, and then NFL-wise, I've always been a Madden guy, I've never been a 2K guy, so 2K
Really?
coming back doesn't. I
Oh,
mean, the
dude.
only 2K
2K5,
that's worth
man.
mentioning, literally the only one's worth mentioning is the, Terrell Owens one. That's the only one that got any
Yeah,
pub.
2K5. Well, dude, 2K4 was really good too. The one with Warren Sapp on the cover.
Yeah,
That was a great game.
I don't know. I think there was a reason why 2K got bought out for a little while.
They definitely upped their game towards the end for sure. By 2K5, they were going full steam ahead. I would say for me, favorite college football game, probably honestly, the last one they made was a blast. I had the coaching carousel in there. That was so cool. I would always start as like offensive coordinator for some no name team like Wyoming, and we'd win a couple bowl games, maybe somehow get to like an Orange Bowl or something, and then go be a head coach of some other program that's fallen off and try to rebuild them. That's something I enjoyed. And then NFL, I'd have to go honestly with, this is kind of tough, but I would go with 2005 Madden as my favorite one.
Oh, so you're going specific year.
Yeah, I'm going specific year. Yeah, 2005 specifically with Ray Lewis in the cover. Dude, that game was so good. It was great.
I remember that. There's another game where, like, you had to be, like, a GM.
Oh, you're talking about NFL head coach?
Yes, that's what it is.
Yes.
Jordan and I played that, and I don't remember what year it was,
The
but
last
Jordan
one
and
they made was 2009.
I
But the
thought they
cool
only
thing
made
about
one
that game,
year.
no, they did 06 to 09. But the cool thing about that game was you could hire not just offensive defensive coordinators, but a defensive backs coach, a quarterbacks coach, and it was accurate. Like it had the legitimate secondary coach of that NFL team on there, and you could cut him at the end of the year. You could get a new one. It was really cool.
Yeah, no, like Jordan and I definitely had a good time in that. I remember when we played it, we were the Colts. And what the funny thing about it is we picked the Colts and we ended up drafting Joseph Adai, D'Amico Ryans, which was
Oh
funny
man,
because, Joseph Adai ended up going to the Colts. Excuse
yeah.
my language. But yeah.
No, you're fine.
But we picked D'Amico Ryans, who had a stellar career at Houston. Yeah, Houston. Um, and then there was a couple other guys that we picked that we were in good shape.
Yeah, that's a really good game. Honestly, probably the most in depth football game in general. Like
Oh,
if you're
no
just
doubt.
talking about the features and stuff on it, like that was way ahead of
And
its
that's
time.
things I like about video games.
Yeah,
Like having to go in depth like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like playing the actual game itself, but I don't know, I like the stuff outside of the game.
yeah, for sure. Like honestly, so I'm just gonna throw it out there, and I've already advertised this game enough as it is. But if you have not heard of or played Retro Bowl, RETRO space BOWL, in case you didn't understand what I said there, dude, it may be literally, I don't really like mobile games, but this game is super addictive. It is. So imagine playing, the graphics are like Madden 92, like they're that type of graphics, but the gameplay, you're a head coach of an NFL team and you go in there, you start out with this crappy team, you build them up, and then you can move around other franchises. And there's a draft. It's super simple though. It's not as complex as I'm making it seem, but it's so much fun. Um, yeah, it's a ball for sure. You got to try it out if you haven't already.
What is it?
It's called Retro Bowl.
This is on your phone?
Yeah, it's 99 cents. I'll throw that. It's $1, but it's the best damn dollar you've spent. I guarantee you the entire year at the moment, at least.
Well,
I would
shoot,
imagine.
I spend $50 on that and $60.
Yeah, exactly. This is 99 cents, man. It's a blast. You got to do it. In fact, I just joined. So it's not multiplayer, but people have found a way to basically make it multiplayer based on. Long story short, I joined a league with 129 other people, and it's college football themed. And I kind of joined the last minute, so I got stuck with Georgia State University. So go Panthers!
Go Panthers.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a blast. Let me ask you this: what is your worst or ugliest fantasy draft pick you've ever made?
Man, pick? I don't know. It's tough. I made some like bad moves, I don't know.
I
Like,
made some bad moves.
yeah,
Yeah, I've been
I
there
made
too
some
a couple
bad
times.
trades. Like before we got on, that Shady McCoy trade's probably one of my more like boneheaded moves. But that was before he broke out at the same time.
Well, that wasn't a bad. That was a good pick. It's just you traded him away.
Yeah, that's
That was
my
the issue with
point.
that.
Like,
Yeah,
I don't think I don't really remember any of my like terrible picks. I'm trying to think, especially the last like few years. I've had a lot of really good picks. I guess off of recent memory, Aaron Donald in the first round wasn't the
oh
greatest
yeah.
pick last year, just
It
because he
seemed
really
good
got
though at the
bottled up.
time though.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, when you're thinking he's going to be the best D lineman, and you go and grab him, and then my very next pick was JJ. I was thinking,
Yeah.
if one of these doesn't pan out, the other one's gotta pan out. There's two best D linemen in football, and neither one of them panned out.
Dude, I've got one worse than that. And you may remember, but back in 2014, it was our first year using my fantasy league as our like website or whatever for fantasy football. I drafted, and this was stupid, dude. Like people were high on him that offseason, but no one was this high. I drafted Matthew Stafford in the first round of a redraft league. It wasn't a keeper league, so I can't say like, oh, there just wasn't a lot of guys in that draft class. No, like there were thousands or hundreds of players that I could have picked, but I picked Matthew Stafford in the first round. I don't know if I had a concussion recently. I don't know if just what the hell happened, but that was the worst decision I've ever made. I've never made a draft pick that bad before, but Matthew Stafford in the first round, hell no. I won't even draft him in any round at this point after that experience. I'll never do it again. That was the worst decision of my life.
I mean, there have been some. I don't know that maybe that 14 year was the year like he'd come off a nice year. He's one of the more
I don't
consistent
know.
guys. He's definitely had some. Granted, he's not worth first round pick in
No, exactly.
a non keeper league. I guess
Yeah,
is what that was.
yeah.
But at the same time, it's not like he's never had weapons, and he could have definitely been one of
Oh no,
those guys
he
that's
had
like,
Calvin Johnson still. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure. Like, I mean, he
did
had
he
the
have
best
Marvin?
receiver of the
Yeah,
decade. I don't know. That's good. I can't remember honestly, but yeah,
I just
I,
think a combination of because he's definitely had weapons within the
he
past few
has.
years. So like going into that year, he probably came off a decent year, and you're thinking, especially what 14, well that's 6-7 years ago, that would have been hitting his prime. So you're probably thinking, okay, he had a really good year last year. He's about to take that next step forward. I mean, he was number one overall pick. Like at
Yeah,
some point, you think they're going to take that step. So I mean, I don't. I'm not gonna bang on you like crazy for that pick, but like at the same time, you could definitely like in 14 you can sympathize. Like, I can sympathize that there was definitely an opportunity and a visual that maybe he was going to take a step in the right direction, especially with like who he had around him.
No, I think there were signs that he could be good, but like we were talking, first round pick, hell no. Like it was a reach,
Yeah,
the
but
biggest reach
quarterbacks
of my
are
life.
important.
They were, but Matthew Stafford's never been that important. Like he's just like I could have gotten so many other quarterbacks, but I chose granted, Aaron Rodgers was gone. I remember Cam Newton was gone already. Um,
Peyton.
Peyton was gone because you had him. So a lot of like I would say your top five QBs were definitely gone. And I think up to that point we had been a keeper league and I had Drew Brees from 2010 through 2013. So I was used to having a perennial top three fantasy quarterback every year. So in my head, oh shit, I got to get my quarterback. Like, what am I going to do without that stud there? So that's what happened. I'll never do that again. I've learned my lesson for sure.
Honestly, those first like 4 years though, especially coming off of those first 4 or 5 years or whatever, like you definitely had to have been thinking like they were quarterback heavy, ran leagues. Like
Yeah,
they were definitely like whoever had the best QBs were running things in those years. That's why, especially when we went to a keeper league and it ended up being, you know, how many quarterbacks got kept in those keeper leagues, especially elite quarterbacks, every single year was the same guy. And I remember
yeah.
our scoring was a little bit off too, and quarterbacks were just blazing everything.
They
So
still
I
do, in my opinion,
Yeah,
in a
I
lot
mean,
of
they
ways.
still make more points, but it's definitely a lot more like bunch than it used to be. Like in those
Yeah,
early years, you got a quarterback that was good. You got one of the elite 5 or so, elite 6, then you were definitely like gonna go to the playoffs.
yeah.
If you had an Aaron Rodgers, I mean, look, Michael Vick won a championship for Colby in year 1. Year 2, I think Ryan won it, but
I think he had Brady.
Ryan, yeah, he did have Brady, and he also had like Gronkowski go off that year for him.
I
Um,
remember that.
he just,
And
it's most of the time uh those heavy quarter coming off those years, heavy quarterback ran teams, dude. Like I could totally see you trying to take a chance on somebody you think's about to bust out, especially like you were in the back half of the draft.
yeah, yeah, it definitely was. Since we're talking about just bonehead moves, what's the most heartbreaking moment as an NFL fan, or maybe just as like a fantasy football fan? Either one.
Um, I'll give you both. Heartbreaking football NFL fan, like Steelers losing to Green Bay in the Super Bowl was not a fun time.
Oh, I remember that, dude. I
Uh,
remember Jade was pissed.
I remember sitting in a room with Jordan and Taylor Arter, and I think Matt was there, and it was just I was literally cheering for Pittsburgh on my lonesome.
They were pulling against you.
Yeah, every single one of them, dude. Like and I'll never forget that. And I just remember like literally getting crap talked to me the whole entire time. We ended up taking the L, and I just was like, I'll never. I want to forget this day now. Um, Fantasy wise, last year wasn't the greatest for me.
I think it's because you got so accustomed to being dominant, and then you made the playoffs, but you didn't do as good as you wanted. And then in our other league, you missed the playoffs, so that didn't help.
Yeah, I just couldn't find like a recipe. Like I couldn't find a like guys I wanted to start each week. Like guys that were. I think what the hardest thing for me is when there's choices, and I have so many choices. I'm trying to pick the best choice that week, and I really just ultimately I want like a guy that's going to start each week. I don't want to make
Yeah,
that choice. I want that guy to be so much better than my next guy that I'm just like, yeah, I got to start him. And that's what I felt like I had back, the 2 previous years. And then this year, dude, I just felt like I had choices and I had to like, and they were very close to the same thing. Certain positions weren't quite as dominant. I had guys getting injured. I had guys, you know, I don't know. It was just a lot going on, like in terms of how my starting lineup looked each week. I guarantee you I did. I'm one of those guys that literally will probably start the same lineup the first like, 6-7 weeks and then start making changes. Because I
Yeah.
want to ride guys out. And by that time I had Mixon as well, and I really put a lot into Mixon, and I started Mixon for maybe 6 weeks. And then by week 7 I was just like, I'm done with it. And then maybe a couple weeks after that's when he started really putting together a season. So things
Yeah.
like that, I had already made my mind up, I'm not starting Mixon anymore, and I never did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
things like that. You're not living up to expectation, and after a certain week, I'm just I literally will write players off. I'm not trying to do
I'm the
that.
same way. I just because I get so pissed off and I'm tired of trying to figure out who's gonna be better. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. He's just not gonna be involved in my game plan anymore. I'm not even gonna start him. I may even cut him. Just so I don't have to worry about it anymore. And usually that's not the right way to go, but
Yeah,
you just
I
get so fed
remember.
up with inconsistency.
Yeah, I cut Hitchinson, and I remember Jameson was starting Hitchinson 4 weeks
Oh
after I
yeah.
cut him.
Dude, he rode him to the ground. He really did.
Yeah, he was riding or dying with him.
Yeah, he was. He was. I think for me, one of the most heartbreaking NFL moments, it's honestly a coin toss between a couple.
Oh,
So
it's got to be the 2 Super Bowls.
yes, and to me, the 2015 one was just how, dude, you go 15-1 and you get slapped around by the Denver Broncos who have absolutely no offense. And we didn't lose the game because Peyton Manning beat us. We lost the game because our offensive line fell apart and our receivers. It was Cam gets a lot of crap because he didn't dive for that football. Ultimately, that wouldn't have changed the game. Whether he recovered his own fumble didn't matter. That offense just was not there to play in that game. That really sucked to see
Yeah,
that
your
happen.
tackles sucked.
Dude, I remember, if Carolina wins that Super Bowl, most people are going to go ahead and say that's a top 3 team in NFL history if they win that Super Bowl. But because of how just god awful they looked in that game, man, you can't even put them in there probably top. I don't even know if you put them top 20.
No, you won't.
Honest to God, just
Now you're
because of
forgot about.
yeah.
I mean, once you lose
Honestly,
that Super Bowl, okay. If you win a Super Bowl, then you can be put in those discussions. If you don't win
yeah,
the Super Bowl, then you're an afterthought.
yeah, exactly. As a fantasy player, though, I think one of the most heartbreaking ones are pretty much just every year in the playoffs for me. I'm that guy who will dominate. I'll go 10-2, 8-4, doesn't matter in the regular season, and I'll get a first round bye, and then I'll shit the bed. And in fact, I got a sound drop for this. I found this specifically for this moment in the whole podcast.
Did you lose? You shut your mouth! Every year I set this league up, every year, and I never win! This was the year! Bullshit! I babysit you morons, I babysit you! Oh, help me out, do this, move that guy around! Oh, I don't have a lineup!
That is me. I get so pissed. I put so much heart and soul into it. I love doing everything league. Don't get me wrong. There's a reason why I do it. It's because I enjoy it. I have a passion for it, regardless of how well my own fantasy team does. But still, it just sucks, man, because you think it's your year and you fall apart and you lose to someone like your own wife, or maybe you lose to your brother, which has happened. Like for me, maybe your own dad beats you in the playoffs, which has happened to me, or maybe it's like every person who wins in your conference. Billy, for instance, I can't remember if Kyle beat me back in 2017 or whatever, but yeah. Anyways, it's just year after year after year getting beat in the playoffs, man. That's rough.
Especially by relatives.
Yeah, that is the worst. Well, I wanted to get to a few other things, but we're kind of running out of time, Cody. Just real quick, I'll just wrap it up. Clowney obviously lowered his price. Is it too high, real quick for you, or is that about where you should be asking?
No, man. I think he lowered it, to be honest with you, and I think everybody is high priced once they go to free agency. I think once they're out of that rookie contract, everybody turns into a high price guy. Literally, everybody's setting the market every time. Even
Yeah,
people that don't deserve to set the market, set the market. So, him going down, he's a freak. He still has. He's still a quality player. I think he's fine. I think I think it's around 17 million is what he's asking.
Yeah,
16, and now that's not like overboard. What you got guys in similar positions. He's not trying to set the market with that number. And
no,
so I think it's all right. And I really hear some mumbles about Carolina trying to get him
I
them in
would be
Tennessee.
ecstatic. Oh, I'd be so glad if we got him. I obviously I'm a huge Gamecock fan. I'm a big Panther fan. So Clowney going to Carolina, man, it's a dream come true. It's what I've been wanting since the day he declared for
Put
the
him on the
draft.
other side of Burns.
Yeah, it'd be pretty good if he can stay healthy for sure. Last one here, has Robbie Anderson's stock risen now that he's in Carolina, and does this really help Carolina at all?
Yes. First of all, he's not the only receiver now. Secondly, I like Teddy Bridgewater over, any of the quarterbacks they've had in the past, 3 or 4 years. What was the
Right,
last one? What was the last question?
Kyle Allen. Oh, was the
Oh,
last question of that?
yeah.
Does this actually help Carolina out?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you add a really solid player, I think it helps you out, and he's definitely one of those. I think he's different. People want to like acknowledge that, they're all kind of similar to the same size and type of receiver. I don't think they're the same type of receiver. I think DJ Moore's a very physical, DJ what 6', 6'1". He's very physical receiver. He can handle going over the middle. He can handle like getting extra yards. I really think Robbie Anderson's the guy that takes the top off the defense. He's very good at the deep routes and of that nature. I think Samuels is the short yardage guy, the guy that's going to take a screen all the way, the guy that's going to hit a crossing route really quick. I think he's your quick, route runner. So I think they all bring something, dynamic to the table in a different way. And I think they're all similar body types, but I don't think they're similar receivers.
Yeah,
Samuels was a running back at some point, so like him just getting the ball in his hands is nice. I don't think Robbie Anderson's the same type of guy. I don't think he can catch the ball and then just take it to the house. I think he's gonna catch it deep and take it to the house. Not
yeah,
And then DJ Moore is he's a freak, man. He's gonna be good. He already showed what type of talent he can be last year, and I think a lot of people saw that before last year as well. I think I drafted him in 3 of the 5 leagues I was in last year.
yeah.
And it worked out well for me, but I think he's Hines Ward-esque,
Ooh,
in a way. He's very physical, but he's not massive.
right.
Um, which I like. I like that type of receiver. I like that receiver that's 6', 6'1". That's gonna fight for extra yards. The only problem he has is he fumbles in critical times. But
Yeah, yeah,
outside of that, like he's gonna be a number one, and he's different than the other 2 guys they got. So
yeah. I definitely I like Robbie Anderson's stock. I don't know if it necessarily risen. If anything, it stayed the same. Maybe it went down a little bit just because Carolina has more weapons than the Jets ever did. So he's having to compete for targets. But it definitely helps Carolina. Probably helps Carolina more than it helps Robbie Anderson and his stock. I think this gives Carolina a legitimate deep threat and gives them more tools to move the ball down the field with Teddy
you
Bridgewater.
you don't think a better quarterback helps?
It does, but I think when you factor in Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, you factor in, I'm drawing a blank on our number 2 receiver besides
Samuels.
Curtis Samuels. Yeah, I think just the target share there, it is going to hurt Robbie Anderson a little bit, but maybe he's more efficient because of it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think the closer we get to the season starting and praying that it actually does start and Rona doesn't run us all off.
See,
Um,
my thing, I think if anybody suffers, it's gonna be Curtis Samuels.
yeah. Oh, I would definitely say Curtis gets hurt more than Robbie Anderson
Yeah,
does.
I think Robbie Anderson, like he's averaging about 50 catches a year, sitting at about 800 yards a year. 6 touchdowns in the past 3 years? Like in terms of average, I think he could totally do that in Carolina.
Yeah, I think that's
I
definitely
honestly
reasonable.
think like I would assume that like he's sitting. I could really see him sitting at about 1,000 yards with the same amount of touchdowns, probably sitting at about 70 receptions. So his receptions would definitely go up. Because if I'm not mistaken, he's, he hasn't gone over, 65 receptions or so in 1 year.
Right.
I think the past 2 years he's been in the 50s. I could definitely see him getting 50 receptions next year. I could see him getting 70-something receptions for about, 1,000 to 1,100 yards. And this is just me thinking that Teddy Bridgewater's going to have a decent year. I think Curtis Samuel's the one that takes the step back, which hurts me a little bit because I do like Curtis Samuel and I like his game. I also think Curtis Samuel is going to contribute in different ways. I think he's the one that can run the ball as well. So I think they're going to get him a lot into those, sweeps and things of that nature.
Right.
I think he's going to have a high catch average, like yard average per catch. So I think, you'll see a Samuel sitting at about a 40 catch mark, sitting at about 700 yards. You know what I'm saying? And, maybe like 4 TDs. I think you'll find a Anderson sitting at about 1,100 yards, 1,000 yards, sitting at about roughly the same touchdown total, 70 receptions. And then I think DJ Moore is going to be sitting in that 80 to 90 reception mark. And he's going to have, 1,300, I would assume, and probably like 8-9 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's just me like spitballing off my head in terms of what I would think would happen. But obviously the focal point, it's the same man, and it's going to be the same man until he's not on the team or he's injured or he's just old, is Christian McCaffrey. So,
Right.
he's going to have 100 receptions himself.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Well, Cody, we've gone over 40 minutes now, so definitely time to call it a night. Well, guys, we have, at the moment, assuming I can get all this done on time, schedule reveal coming up next week, so a lot to look forward to there. We'll release more information about that. Cody, you've had a blast. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone, and see you next week.
Adios.